Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by Panda Sups. If you don't know, use code GENTY for 25% off at pandasups.com. And if you want to know the products that I am using to help me get in better shape for my wedding, I'll talk about those here in just a little bit. So if you haven't seen this rumor linking Keenan Allen to the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to talk about the rumor because when I saw Keenan Allen linked to the Raiders, this was my face exactly, and if you felt the exact same way, why don't you smash that like button? But I mean this, I don't want Raiders fans to ever miss anything, and because in the offseason, rumors are everywhere. And I'm somebody that likes rumors a lot because I do think that you can learn something from a rumor, which then could potentially lead to some smoke, which could lead to some fire, and then you see a whole story really come together. It's really, really important, though, for people to be subscribed in the offseason. That way you can differentiate, hopefully that's the right word, rumors to news. And I'm going to make sure that you can do that by hitting that sub button. So let's go to the story here around Keenan Allen being linked to the Las Vegas Raiders. And when I first started doing this show, I would look at articles or I would look at the top trending topics on social media and I would talk about what people are talking about, which is exactly what I am doing here. So Yardbarker put out an article linking Keenan Allen to the Las Vegas Raiders, and it said that the Raiders should consider adding this Pro Bowl wide receiver before training camp. Training camp, for those of you that do not know, is going to be near the end of July. We actually don't have the dates yet. It's just always around like the early 20s of July, so just keep that in mind. But Allen has been linked to the Raiders all offseason long. He was a player that I talked about a bunch in the month of March. He was a player that we talked about a lot leading up into the NFL draft. And when you consider the amount of connections that Keenan has to this organization, to the Raiders, you can kind of sit back and go, okay, I know how important relationships are. I can see why Keenan Allen would be linked to the Raiders. So here's what Yardbarker had to say on the Silver and Black, adding number 13. Keenan Allen would be a good fit for the Las Vegas Raiders if the team decides to add another wide receiver. Granted, the Raiders selected 3 wide receivers in the 2025 NFL Draft in Jack Bech, Dante Thornton Jr., and Tommy Millott. Those receivers joined Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Alec Bachman, Keyshawn Smith, Jeff Foreman, Keytron Jackson Jr., Cedric Jackson, and Kyle Phillips. You can pencil in Myers and Tucker as starters with star tight end Brock Bowers, who led the team in receiving yards with 1,194 last season. So when I do this show, I really mean this when I say it. I do it for all of y'all, but I do this also so you guys get a voice. I already have a voice up here, but I love to be able to interact with you guys, so please, this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. While you're getting hit with a YouTube ad break, I want you to scroll on down and answer the pinned comment. Type S for sign, type P for pass, should the Raiders go out and sign Keenan Allen. If it was up to me right now, I'm typing my P for pass, and I'm going to pass on Keenan, which might surprise a lot of people just considering the fact of how big I was on the Raiders going out and getting Allen before the NFL draft. Here's the thing, though. I can make an argument, and I could make a show on why it makes sense for the Raiders to go out and sign him. I could also make a show right now on why it doesn't make sense to go out and get him. The reason why I am passing on him right now, it's because I want to see what our rookies do. I want to see what our team looks like before we go out and spend. If that doesn't look good, we have a lot of time before training camp ends up rolling in. So first off, though, because this is the show and I gave you a sign and pass, I'm actually going to break down why it would make sense for the Raiders to go out and sign Allen. I'm also going to tell you why it doesn't make go out and sense to go get him. The first reason of why I could see the Raiders going out and signing Keenan Allen, it's because of the coaching connection. If you don't know how important coaching connections are to this Raiders regime, then you probably haven't watched the Raiders Report or anything Raiders related in the past few months. He has got a really good connection with the current Raiders wide receiver coach, Chris Beatty. Beatty was with him with the Chargers for 2021 to 2021 to 2023, and then he ended up going to Chicago. Allen ended up following him to Chicago in 2024. So not only does he have that coaching connection, Allen is still a reliable receiver. And believe me, if there was one player that would drive me nuts on the Chargers, you know, with the barbecue chicken statements and all that, it was Keenan Allen. But he is still a reliable player, and he's been able to put up some good numbers. And if you listen to what Caleb Williams had to say and a lot of Bears people at the end of last season, they said that Keenan was realistically like one of the big go-to guys for Caleb. But in 15 games last season, 70 catches, 744 yards. In 2023, over 100 grabs. 2022, I mean, if the trend continues, he might put up over 100 catches and over 1,000 yards, because I do still think that he is a reliable wide receiver in the National Football League. Another reason here of why I think it would be a smart move for the Raiders to go get him, he would be a good fit with Geno Smith. I do think the type of player that Keenan is in terms of route running, I still think that he can catch the football at a high level. I know he's had some drops, but to me, he's still a good route runner. He knows exactly where he needs to be. He can be a good route tree. And when you have an extremely accurate quarterback, it's good to have that. Though, you could also argue that if he's a good fit for Geno, you got to bring him in ASAP Rocky. That way he can learn a chemistry. That way he can learn and build chemistry. And then that way we're not waiting, for that chemistry to build come August, come September. The final reason here, while I'll throw this out there, is he's a Raiders fan. And maybe that doesn't mean anything to anybody out there, but I have a hard time believing you have an opportunity to play for the team that you grew up rooting for, the team that you grew up watching. That tells me that you're going to bring 110%, and that's the Keenan Allen that I want. I want 110% Keenan Allen playing for a team that he grew up rooting for. That sounds like a guy to me that's going to go out there and going to compete. But I did say that I would not go out and sign Allen right now, and here's why the Raiders shouldn't go out and get Keenan. The first reason is age and his injury concerns. He's getting up there in age. You can't deny it. And for me, at this point, if I'm sitting up here going, well, I actually don't know if the Raiders are trying to win a Super Bowl right now. Let's get these young rookies that you're hoping can win a Super Bowl with you in 2 to 3 years. Let's get them up to speed as quickly as humanly possible. Because, yes, Keenan Allen is good. I don't think Keenan Allen would be a part of the long-term plan. I think Allen would be a one-year prove-it type of deal. Also, some of those injury concerns. 11 games missed over the past 3 seasons. Not a lot of games, but that's games missed, not games that he was battling something. The next reason here of why I wouldn't go out and do it, he is a bad run blocker. Last season, according to PFF, he had a 31.6 run blocking grade. That was third worst in the National Football League. If there's one thing that we've said over and over and over again this offseason, it's how the Raiders, I think, want to be versatile and how they want to, keep people on edge. If you put Keenan Allen in the game, that might tip your cap of, hey, we're going to be throwing the football. Brock Bowers, Jack Bech, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, all those guys are good run blockers. So if you want to be able to stay versatile, and if you want to have all your players out there that can help Ashton Jeanty be the best version of Ashton Jeanty, maybe you don't go out and get Keenan Allen. Let's go to the next reason here. Jacoby extension. If I'm Jacoby Myers and I've made it known that I want a brand new deal because I got $0 million on my contract, and Jacoby's not going to be the person that just is like, hey, I want a new extension. Hey, I'm not going to practice. Hey, I'm going to sit out. That's not the way Jacoby is programmed, and I'm okay with that. But I'm telling you all this right now, I actually think it would rub some people the wrong way. And when I say people, I think it would rub some players the wrong way, because it wouldn't shock me at all if Jacoby's wearing a C on his chest this year. That's how widely regarded he is in that locker room, and he deserves it. He has been dealing with a lot of bullshit from the quarterback position. But if you go out and you pay Keenan Allen, let's say $11.1 million this season, and you do that before you give an extension to Jacoby, before you give an extension to Colton Miller, I actually don't think that that's a smart way to invest your money. The final one is this: the Raiders rookies. And I believe in Jack Bech. I think Dante Thornton Jr. is going to be a good field stretcher. I also want to see what Tommy Mellott has in store. I also think that they are very, very much so underselling Kyle Phillips and what he could potentially bring to this organization and what he could potentially bring to the field. But I want to see what our rookies got in May. I want to see what our rookies look like in June. And I know that if you brought in Keenan Allen, it would probably spark some more competition. But before I go out and sign Keenan Allen, I want to know what my rookies have. And the more reps my rookies get with Geno Smith, the more I'm going to know if they're legit or if they're not legit. Speaking of legit, Jack Bech, I want you all to see some of these Raiders rumors on Bech, because I'm telling you right now, this guy is legit. And I might be crazy to say this, but I think Jack Bech could be the reason whether or not the Raiders would go out and get a Keenan Allen. I'll talk about this in just a moment. But if you do not know, today's show, again, is presented by Panda Subs. It is owned, it is operated by a die-hard Raiders fan. And this Raiders fan has made it very possible for me to try to stay in the best shape. And I'm somebody where I like to try to look my best. But recently, I'm also trying to get that 1% because I'm only trying to get married once. I got my honeymoon coming up. And if you use code GENTY, you're going to be able to get 25% off at pandasupps.com. So the 4 products that I use right now every single day. The Fuel Premium Protein from Panda. I'm using their aminos, their BCAAs. They'll always stay hydrated and to get the most out of my workout. Creatine, extremely important for workouts. And then the Cuts Fat Burner because I want to try to lose a little bit of extra belly fat that I got hanging around on me because I like to have some beers from time to time, which I'm sure you guys know. If you want to take advantage of the products I'm using over at Panda Supps, it's pandasupps.com. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So let's get into some of these rumors now on Jack Bech because I think what I'm going to say might surprise some people, but then again, I would say the people that watch this show every single day probably aren't going to be too surprised of the statements that I got coming out of my mouth. But before I tell you that, I do actually want to go back, though, to a quote that Yardbarker had to say, because I'm going to dispute it a little bit. The receivers join Jakobi Meyers, Trey Tucker, Alex Bachman, Keyshawn Smith, Jeff Foreman, Keyshawn Jackson, Shedrick Jackson, and Kyle Phillips. The important part here is this. You can pencil in Myers and Tucker as starters with star tight end Brock Bowers. I'm going to be honest with you. And maybe Yardbarker just doesn't know the Raiders all that well. Maybe the writer of that article doesn't know the ins and outs of the silver and black. But I don't think that you can pencil in Trey Tucker as a starter. And quite frankly, when I first read that, I was literally like, I think anybody that's penciling in Trey Tucker as a starter is a little bit crazy because of Jack Bech. Like, to me, I think Bech is ahead of Trey Tucker on that wide receiver depth chart. I really do believe that Jakobi Meyers is the Raiders' number 1 receiver and that Jack Bech is the number 2 receiver and Trey Tucker is the number 3. But he has already been very impressive this offseason on and off the field. And I do believe if the season were to start today, the former LSU TCU receiver, he's going to be your number 2 receiver because of what he brings to the table as a receiver, but it's also what he brings as a blocker. And because he can do all these different things as a blocker, he's a tough mother effer, he wants to run through your face, he's going to be the number 3 target in that passing game. Bowers is going to be your number 1. Jakobi Meyers is going to be number 2. And then I think number 3 is going to be Jack Bech, though you can make an argument there's a 3A, 3B, 3C, and Michael Mayer, Jack Bech, Trey Tucker. Hell, you might even be able to throw in Dante Thornton Jr. and Tommy Millott. But I did say that Jack Bech, to me, would be the reason whether or not the Raiders would go out and get a guy like Keenan Allen. Because if you're this confident in Bech, and the Raiders are this confident in Bech, I'm not saying that he's going to turn into the next Max Crosby, but I always have things written down in my notebook just because I've done this for so long. I have so many notes on Max when he was a rookie and how he was just outshining all these other rookies and how he was doing laps around Arden Key at the time. Some of the notes that I'm getting early on around Bech are that this guy is just clearly the best one out of the bunch at wide receiver, and a lot of the notes that we're getting is this guy's a sicko, this guy's a dog, this guy's got that Raider mentality. He's bringing all of that extra juice that this organization wants. So I do think that the only way that the Raiders go out and they sign a guy like Keenan Allen is if they lose confidence in Jack Bech and if they lose confidence in this Raiders rookie wide receiver room, because one of the biggest winners from minicamp was Bech, because Bech also allows this team to be physical. He allows them to be violent. John Spytek talked about the mentality that this team is trying to bring, and they're trying to bring that physicality and violence. Not saying that Keenan can't do that, but Keenan's not going to be somebody that's going to be violent, not going to be somebody I think goes out there and going to be competing the way Bech does, because Allen's going to be 34 years old and he's going to get paid and he's going to want to try to stay healthy. When you look at Bech and that violent mentality, it shows up on tape. That 74.5 PFF run grade, that was 13th best among all Power 5 schools last season. And Bech competes at that Max Crosby type of level. That's a guy that you want May, June, July, getting extra and extra reps. And then after you see it for a few months, and if you go, yeah, I don't know if this guy can do it, then that's when you go out and you consider signing Keenan Allen before training camp starts in July. Right now, I don't think that there's any need to sign Keenan Allen. So my question to all of you after me sitting up here saying Bech will be the Raiders' wide receiver number 2, I would say that he's going to be the 4th option in the offense behind Jeanty, Bowers, and Jacoby Myers. But how many receiving yards for Bech this upcoming season? You're going to get hit with another YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer. My answer will be after this break. Or maybe I should call it this YouTube ad Bech. I'm going to go with 43 catches, 602 yards. That is an average of 14 yards per catch and 4 touchdowns this season for the Silver and Black. Some of you might go, man, that's not a lot. I actually think that the Raiders have a legit chance to have 3, maybe 5 receivers with over 500 receiving yards. I anticipate Bowers and Jacoby to have over 1,000. And I anticipate Trey Tucker, Michael Mayer, and Jack Bech to all be around that 500 number, on top of the fact of what Jeanty is going to be able to do in the ground game. That might seem like a little bit of a low number, but at the end of the day, that's about 2-3 catches per game for Jack Bech. That is a good contribution from a rookie who will be the 3rd target in the passing game and the 4th option overall in the offense. That's the number. I'm seeing a lot of other numbers out there, and I appreciate all those guesses. But to me, I'm going to go 602 receiving yards for Mr. Jack Bech.